Boys Town 15 to 18 Youth Development Program comprised an NGO proposing partner, the Boys Town Foundation, along with state and private sector partners. The partners came together to fill a critical gap for at-risk youth between 15 and 18 years, many of whom were not of the required age nor had the qualifications to pursue vocational training or higher education. Because of this gap, many boys would drift towards street corners while young girls became pregnant. The project engaged the youth through offering learning programs using non-traditional teaching methodologies, especially computer, sports, and music, as well as provided resocialization and other social skills, and importantly, drew on Boys Town mentorship traditions and expertise.
Boys Town have been, this year is 71 years, so at the time it would have been about 65 years that we had an informal partnership of youth exclusion or youth at risk in inner city community. And the view was that Boys Town was an informal process that wasn't finished because of different political issues and social issues. So we felt that this project would allow for a completion of the experiment. First part of Boys Town, when we started, with partnership, very informal partnership, is cooperation, is coordination. And so it's bringing together different stakeholders for the interests of that project at that stage, which really blossomed out into an institution, although it wasn't formally done so. Moving more towards collaboration. There's collaboration where a number of state agencies, private sector groups, and the civil society group, which became Boys Town, more now as a formal group, representing the community, decided that there is a coordination of role and responsibility. And so there's a defined MOU that says, this is your role, this is what you're going to put into the partnership. And this is the expected output. Many individuals focusing on either training or sports, or one of the sports, football or cricket or education. The partnership required the rebuilding of a formal secretariat here. And it meant persons reporting into a formal secretariat. So you'd understand, after a vacuum and a gap of 20 years without reporting that persons had to adjust to doing things differently. In addition, everybody was volunteer. And what it meant is that somebody could drive in and go to their group. Now we were asking volunteers to be a little more accountable in how they function. And because we were also going to be using both, not just fundraising funds, which we would just audit in our own way, but we also needed to be answerable to the partnership. Because the partnership, we established a project steering committee that was made up of all the key partners. And therefore, the view is that we were committed to decision-making process that had everybody involved.
It's all about tattoo, piercing, and ear drifting.
Because it was over a 3 to 4 year period, we're able to say what works and what doesn't work, because there would be no point then in just doing this if we weren't able to share the lessons, to share good practices with the rest of the development community. So aside from doing the projects, we want to say, well, okay, this is what can support the process. This is what you ought to design in So somebody else coming to do this type of project and partnership. And these are the other things that you need to avoid. And we call them supportive and unsupportive factors. So supportive factors, the participatory monitoring and evaluation.
Interesting thing, I didn't get it first off. When my first couple of meetings, it didn't click that there was a significant difference with the Boys Town 15 to 18 Youth Development Project. It wasn't until I started to see Deborah Duberly-Pinks, who was the coordinator of this, bring us together and start the discussions in a very comprehensive manner. And I realized the difference is the participatory aspect. So this model is based on a PM&E, participatory measurement and evaluation, with the key and the operative word being participatory. It brings us together to say, where do we want to go with these youth? What is it that we want to achieve? Every month we come together, we're doing that process of doing a health check, evaluating where we're coming from, where we're going, and what we've achieved. So it's not about just self-reflection, it's about community reflection. It's not about pointing fingers and saying, look who's doing something wrong. Oh gosh, why are you doing that? It's about how can we as a team empower this to make it better. It is fascinating to me in the sense that it builds ownership, it builds accountability, it builds transparency, because everyone is evaluating as you go along, and it builds capacity.
And deepening knowledge to be used to support, guide, and design current and future interventions, as well as be drawn on for lobbying and advocacy efforts.
This partnership was formed to fill a gap that we saw in the Jamaican educational system, especially for inner city young people, not just boys, because Boys Town, since the 1960s, when the Y became a family Y, also became boys and girls, a co-ed institution. But what we had, and in fact most institutions in the inner city, we started with a basic school, and we're actually catering for a year earlier, that is 2 to 5. We have an all-age school that caters for 6 to 15. Then those who did not make it to the high schools or secondary education waited until they were 17 plus to get into Heart NYS. And what was happening is that most of the girls were getting pregnant after 15 out of school. Most of the boys, if they weren't in a formal institution, were being encouraged to get into gangs. So we were wasting most of the human life between 15 to 17. There were talk about in the community of 4 to 5 funerals every Sunday of young men being cut down by the guns. So one aspect of it was so that the 15 to 17, that's why we call it the 15 to 18 Youth Development Program, to close that age group.
I went to the Boys Town Hall 8 school where I've been at 8th grade, got pregnant in 8th grade, had to went to the Women's Center, left from the Women's Center and went to the Melrose Hall 8 school where I do the GNAT exam, and I've passed for the Trenchtown Comprehensive High School. When I've been in Trenchtown Comprehensive High School, I've got pregnant again in grade 9. So I stopped. I was staying at home for the past 2 months. Since the Boys Town program has started, I went down there for the past year, but it was a 2-year program. I went and I got through with everything, did the interview, did some medical for the school as well. And I've been a student down there for the past 2 years. I've been through many different courses. I've done a child care course, I've done an home nursing course, and right now I've left the Boys Town program and now has went on to the Operation Friendship Heart School, where I'm now doing food and nutrition, and that's where life is taking me right.
The School of Public Health at the University of Technology is one of the strategic partners of this project, and we are responsible for the research, training, and service. We have been, therefore, an integral part of the partnership. And we also are not only contributing to the development of this partnership, but also we derive benefits from this partnership. We have a 52-hour training program that we have designed specifically for the 15 to 19 age group who have no skills, have dropped out of school, and we call it the Homemakers course. Why the Homemakers course? Because what we have realized is that this cohort, which has no skill whatsoever to be part of any government program, they don't qualify to go in any institutions. There are some basic information that they need just to be able to cope. A knowledge of themselves, a knowledge of their relationships, a knowledge of the relationships to the community and their role, responsibility, and also developing a vision of themselves.
The computer lab is really a tool in the re-education process, because the youngsters, although they had basic knowledge of reading and writing, are interested in information technology. So there's a tie-in with a universal access point, but it's also a point of communication skills, of teaching, using the computer. And so, for instance, on the program is what's called auto skills. It's where the students sign in and they walk through lessons in reading and writing, in maths, in functional literacy. And the computer lab has become a broader community point. So it's really a tool. In reality, what this project has allowed us to do is to experiment. The CIDA funding provides the opportunity to experiment, to show what can work. We hope to produce enough evidence base that this has worked so that other agencies, including UTEC, including the existing government agencies we're working with, others and other civil society groups, can replicate the type of experiment that will save the lives of these young people.